Hi everyone, this is Josh Kulp. We are learning Daf Shvui. We are on Daf Nun Aleph of Masechet Gitin, and I wanted to talk about a comment that Rashi made that is connected to methodology and hierarchy in the Talmud. So this is on the second side of Daf Nun Aleph. There's a Braita where Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov says, occasionally a person will take an oath on his own claim, which is rare. Usually a person takes an oath as response to somebody else's claim. You claim you owe you money. I take an oath that I don't. But occasionally a person will initiate a claim and then have to take an oath that it's true. How is this so? Somebody says, I have a maneh, an amount of money that belonged to your father, and I gave him half of it, meaning I already gave him back half of it, so I only owe you half. The other person doesn't seem to have known anything. And according to Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, he still has to take an oath that he doesn't own the other half. The Gemara will continue to talk about that, but I don't want to talk about that right this second. And this is a case, Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov says, where somebody initiated a claim and still has to take an oath over it. And the rabbis say, no, that's only like returning a lost object, and he's exempt because the other person didn't claim that you had something that belonged to my father. Had he been quiet, he wouldn't have had to pay anything. And so the rabbis consider him to be like somebody who restores a lost object. And somebody who restores a lost object is exempt from taking an oath. This is to encourage people to return lost objects. Now the Gemara puzzlingly asks, Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, late le meshiv aveda upatur? Does Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov really disagree with the Mishnah that said somebody who returns a lost object is exempt? And then the Gemara tries to solve the difficulty against Rabbi Eliezer. But Rashi notes that Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov is a Tana, and Tanaim are allowed to disagree with the Mishnah. From a formal, let's say, ranking of authority, Tanaim are always allowed to disagree with Tanaim. Tanaim are sages that lived during the Mishnaic period, and the Mishnah is full of difficulties from one against the other. And usually this doesn't bother the Talmud at the least. So why should it bother the Talmud now that Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov disagrees with the Mishnah? Now, I personally think that Rashi really captures the pshat. The Gemara is just wondering, does that make sense? This isn't a Mishnah that we listen to because it's hierarchically superior to other sources. This is a Mishnah that is because of Tikkun Olam. It makes perfect sense to say somebody who returns a lost object should not have to take an oath that he didn't, let's say, find something more, or there wasn't more money, for instance, in the wallet, etc., etc. If we make people who return lost objects take an oath, it will deter people from returning lost objects. And in order to encourage people to return lost objects, which is for the betterment of us all, we exempt them from an oath. And occasionally they might get away with a lie and return, let's say, half the money in a wallet, but that's, after all, better than returning none of the money. So Rashi says, yes, this is a case where the Mishnah's authority is greater than Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. Not that Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov can't disagree with the Mishnah, but the Mishnah's logic makes so much sense that Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov shouldn't disagree with it. It doesn't make sense for him to disagree with it. Most of the other Rishonim, I believe, do not read like Rashi. They try to read this as a different kind of difficulty, but I really think that Rashi captures the pshat here, that the difficulty is that the Mishnah is so authoritative because it makes so much sense. And that's true in the cases of, let's say, Tikkun Olam. It might not be true in cases that are more random, where we have lots of disputes between, let's say, Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda, and one position isn't inherently more logical than the other.